Sup everybody, this is Karak with ACG, and as always it's my continuing mission to bring you reviews that aren't 2 minutes long or filled with sponsored bullcrap, or that YouTube will most likely just demonetize anyway. You know, there are few things in this world I like better than the idea of repeating the same dreary day with folks suiciding themselves like a digital version of the Mask of the Red Death, but here we are, in the upcoming title, Sexy Brutal from Tequila Works and Cavalier Game Studios. Now, in this title, you play as priest Lafcadio Boone as he Groundhog Days his time away, watching people kill themselves or be killed in a massive mansion owned by a mysterious master known only as the Marquis. Now, imagine one part Clue, remove Tim Curry but add Bill Murray from Groundhog Day and rub a little Angela Lansbury and maybe some Sherlock Holmes in there, and you sort of have an idea what we've got here. All this is you live and relive the day over and over again. You see, it's your job to slump around the confines of this little multi-doored coffin and save the lives of those who die within it, all in the same day. So let's take a seat and see just how good Sexy Brutal is. Does it require a special controller powdered in Paxel? We'll see. Or does it elevate above its somewhat horribly depressing sounding situation and offer an interesting case of whodunit and, more importantly, who done it to? Let's check it out and see. As always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's my review for the Sexy Brutal. Oddly titled priests, lucha libre dinner guests, and games with porn star position names. Graphics are up first. From beginning to end, you're going to notice right away this is far more about its form than its function, and while its performance is actually excellent, I just mean it's not really throwing large numbers of enemies at you or dazzling you with Michael Bay 360 camera swings. That'd be stupid. It's not that kind of game. It's just excellent presentation with an eye towards stylistic differences to vet out the unique places you explore in the castle, as well as a my god they're poor necks kind of art style of the characters, giving them nice big heads, which is more of an artistic choice to bring attention to the masks, but I'll get to that in a bit. It's also got excellent use of color work, from the warning frothing danger foam that spools under the bottoms of some doors that are locked off for various dangerous reasons, to your mask catching fire as you get near a door when an enemy awaits just beyond, even to the subtle shading the game does when you're peeping into a room. It just really looks fantastic for what it's trying to accomplish, and at every moment you understand what's occurring visually. Now, as I said, this actually ran really well. At 4K, the game never dropped below 60 FPS on even the older i7 at 4.2 and the NVIDIA 1080. If there's anything to complain about, it's the fact that I was pretty disappointed there were almost no graphical adjustments that could be made here, and while the game designers probably felt they weren't really needed. It's always nice to have a little wiggle room to push more performance or presentation from a title when you can. Lastly, there were a couple glitches when it came to loading, with some rooms taking an extra long time one time and then being fine the next, probably something to do with buffering. Overall, I'd say this is an excellent looking title, some really good color use, and I just love the theme. Sound, music, and voice. You know, it's not just the subtle strokes of master clocks echoing in rooms, or that far-off shiver of wood and this groan of rope as someone ends their life with a short drop and a sudden stop. In Sexy Brutal, sound is actually incredibly important, and the developers know that. Really so much so that some of the skills of the main character are matched to it when they collect some of the masks. From start to finish throughout your day, if you listen closely, you can actually hear the deaths of some of those within the home, and note that time if you really want to mentally just be aware of what's going on around the game world, even if you're not to that puzzle yet. Also, with some masks come special powers, including the ability to hear things within the house from an even wider distance. And it's here where not only the horrible ends of the dreary inhabitants can be heard, but so too the secrets and hints of their inevitable reason for slaughter. There is this deepness to the sound here that is really incredibly rare in games, and luckily that's backed up with some really solid samples throughout. I mean, it was so cool the first time I realized I'd heard one of the characters' deaths a large number of times and had not really realized it was actually epic stuff, and a real demonstration, at least to me, of game design using more than the senses of sight for delivering information to the game player. And of course that brings us to music, from heady death jazz that beats out from casinos to the moody, leery music that follows you around guest chambers, to a couple vocal-infused single tracks that absolutely add to this deep, mysterious feeling that exudes within the entire game. It's really excellent. I will say that the only issue I had is that some of the tracks can actually become overpowering as you leave one room with little instrumental chords and ditties playing, and then suddenly end up in what is apparently a skeletal jam session of blues artists. But that's really a small complaint, to say the least. Voice. None. So let's move on. Gameplay. Of course, as you guys know, normally here I'd say and a little bit about story, but I can't do that because most of it would be spoilers anyway. So the game throws you into the deep end as Priest Boone hiding a nifty little tutorial into the first death that you try to stop. Now, one thing I will not ruin either is any of the puzzles or even hint about them much in this video, but I can say this. Some require 1 or 2 steps, others can require a large number of them with a specific pattern in play to make sure that one of these little pig-headed freaks doesn't end up nothing more than a wet pool of questionable leftovers at the bottom of a pit somewhere. And the game's bread and butter really is traversal with time travel. The game has you moving from mansion room to mansion room with everything you do, from peeking through keyholes to opening doors to looking at the odds and ends that are stored all over Mansion Happy Place, taking time away from your day. Now, you can either let time run out and that time span grows larger as you progress through the mysteries, or you can jump ahead when you get that ability, or you can reset the day if you feel you missed something, and all of those skills are going to be used for various reasons. And if there's one thing Sexy Brutal does, it requires your attention, because the game really is absolutely thick with situations occurring around you, and an overheard discussion in a room you're peep tomming may not actually matter until 2 or 3 deaths in. Now, make no mistake, this isn't an open mansion style title. Most of the mysteries are laid out in a structure where you find out who you need to save and spend a good deal of time in the general locations trying to do so. And so what that does is keeps the day-to-day watch folks murder themselves repeat it again style of gameplay and cultivate it a bit, keeping things more directed than, let's say, if this was a totally free roam title. Though as you progress in the game, more and more of the mansion is going to indeed be explorable. Now, to me, that is the mastery here. Instead of the feeling of, oh Christ, I have to live through this day again, the game somehow mysteriously keeps you feeling almost like it's not necessarily just repeated days. It's still moving forward in progress for you, and it's measured in both your success at saving folks, but also your own knowledge about what is happening in the mansion. And even if you don't save anybody, there isn't really a single day that I played through, all of them advancing at the speed of dog years, where I felt it was a waste. And if you want to keep your own personal notes about some of the things you hear or see, you're going to catch on to even more of the story. Also, just absolutely bravo to these folks. When you reset a day, yes, if you gathered a key, you're going to lose the physical item, but you don't, of course, lose the knowledge of where it is, but you also don't lose anything overheard. And this is extraordinarily helpful in keeping the gaming moving at a brisk pace, especially when you are continually reminded you're rushing through the same day over and over and over again. Also, I think the game's last key to success here has to be its reliance on mood. Now, I can't say much, but even after saving folks, the consistent reminders that you won't save them all every day, and in fact you simply can't, is really driven home, whether it's the sound of a gunshot tearing through the innards of a dinner guest or the electrical sound of frying circuits that might be because someone's face is being used as a breaker. Control's also spot on, and it works with mouse and keyboard or controller. Of course, all this brings us to fun factor. You know, I gotta say, I love brain twisters, and I'm not always a fan of repeating the same content, but the excellent use in this game of different locations but same time span kind of gameplay, mixed with the deepening and broadening of the steps needed to save the little suckers from taking their last dirt nap, is really one of the better examples of good game mechanics put to work, where nothing feels like it's sort of not used as much as something else. Now, it's a bit under 10 hours for a full playthrough and has some various collectibles that, of course, most likely will take you over that to get them all. It really was just simply a blast. I never expected to like it as much as I did, and I never became numb to that gunshot that rang out 5 doors down, reminding me I couldn't save everyone. It's not perfect though. The game has a mechanic where if you enter rooms inhabited by people, they can't see you, but their masks can, and they try to kill you. That's fine because it's sort of part of the story. But they could be easily walked away from, and that was fairly throwaway when it comes to difficulty, because though you can die, it's actually a bit hard to do. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale. Easily a buy with this title. There is so much here that's enjoyable to do, so much to explore, and while it doesn't have anything more than maybe a second or third playthrough replayability, that's more than enough for the price that they're asking and how many hours of enjoyment you're going to get through this. It's really a different style of puzzle game, and one that absolutely surprised me. So as you guys know, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, maybe check out Twitter or Patreon. That's what keeps us going when YouTube continues to do the bullshit they do. If you dislike the video, give it a thumbs down. Peace out, and enjoy the rest of your week.